Hi and welcome again to Read No Grow. So this week's video is a little bit different. This week I'm talking about a fiction book. I do try and mix up fiction and non-fiction, but to be honest, mainly I used to read just fiction book. Non-fiction's pretty new to me. I've only kind of been reading it over like the last year and a half. And I think it's good to mix it up because it's good to kind of keep your imagination going. I think fiction helps with like your creative juices and things, and just ultimate escapism. I don't think you can be getting totally drawn into a different world in a book. And this week's book, well, two books are The Song of Achilles and Circe. And I've got the Song of Achilles here, so it's not a huge book. It's about 350 pages, and the author is Madeline Miller, and she also wrote the book Circe too, obviously, I just said that. And she was the winner of the Women's Prize, and I can see why these books are fantastic. And these books were recommended on Jen Im's channel. So I started just kind of following YouTubers who were doing book reviews like before I started my YouTube channel, just to get like a wee feel for how people did it. And she recommended quite a few, and I really loved her kind of style of how she was doing book reviews. So she recommended these ones, and I was like, okay, yeah, I would definitely, I think that sounds a bit of me. And they're by the same author, but they're very different. Me and my partner listened to The Song of Achilles when we were in Skye, and we had it on Audible, and it was just the best. About maybe 16 hours on Audible, but the narration was just, it's so good. The narrators who do The Song of Achilles, like, I absolutely loved it. And it's basically about Achilles, the Greek hero who was famous for his effortless fighting abilities, and the sort of Battle of Troy. And like most of us have like probably heard about like the Battle of Troy and things, but I was a bit like, oh, if she hadn't recommended it, I don't know if I would have read it, because I was like, I don't know if like that's my bag. Like I just kind of thought it'd be a little bit boring maybe, but it really isn't. So the way she's written it is like a love story, and it is just amazing. So I'll just give you like a wee summary of the book, but basically I cannot say the main character's name, but Patroclus is a shamed prince, and he basically gets exiled to Achilles' palace, and they're both like kids at this age, very awkward kind of young teenagers. Achilles is just like this bright, shining, popular prince of his castle. Everyone's kind of drooling over him, and Patroclus is this exiled prince, and surprisingly they start a friendship. But over the course of the book, the friendship blossoms into something much deeper. And because the Battle of Troy happens, Achilles, because of his abilities, is called to fight. And the detail and the descriptions, you know, you just feel like you're transported into like old Greek. It's just amazing. And the story, and I don't want to give too much away because I hate spoilers, but it is a fab book. And if you do want kind of escapism, and just to kind of just leave this kind of hectic world that we're in just at the moment, and then I would really recommend this book. I would thoroughly recommend listening to it narrated as well. Like Achilles' voice was just like dreamy. If I had to kind of describe it in a nutshell, it would be kind of like a coming of age, coming out epic love story. It was fab. What I kind of liked as well is that you did get like snippets of like other stories, other kind of Greek stories that you've probably heard about. And I don't know, I grew up on Disney, so hearing like all the Disney Greek gods, that's probably where I kind of know most of all my Greek history from. So you're hearing of like Zeus, and you're hearing like mention of like the god Apollo and things like that. And so yeah, it was like really interesting as well from that kind of perspective. And then Circe was a little bit different. Think kind of like a Greek version of Encantado. So she's like a Greek goddess who has no powers, and it's just kind of like her story, like finding herself, and there's a love story too. But there was more kind of like references to other Greek stories in this, like the Minotaur, more references of gods. And they actually did mention Troy and Achilles and that kind of story in Circe, so I would definitely read The Song of Achilles first, because if I'd read Circe, I think I'd have been a bit gutted, because I would have had a few spoilers about The Song of Achilles if I didn't really know much background of it. So I definitely advise reading The Song of Achilles first. I can't really pick which one I prefer. They were both really different. The Song of Achilles, I felt a bit book bereft, you know, like when you're like, oh, what now? It was just, yeah, almost like kind of book hungover or something. Like it was really, really good. But then Circe was maybe like a little bit more, I didn't feel so much that, like I did really enjoy it, but the way it ended, it didn't leave me feeling like hungover as much. So I think that would be a good way to read them, so the Song of Achilles and Circe, just for like the feeling that you get afterwards as well, because after the Song of Achilles I was like, oh, I've still got Circe to read. And yeah, I just think they would be a really good bedtime read, or a really good kind of book to read on holiday, or like if you're traveling, great, you know, you would totally just leave where you were and you'd be transported to Greece for a while. So if you've read it, let me know what you thought about them, and if you had a favourite, let me know. And if you can recommend anything like this, I always find I don't know what to read after books like this, because I'm just like, oh, what can top it? Currently I'm reading, is it the Seven, I want to say wives, but it's not, the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I'm really enjoying that. I'm listening to that on Audible as well, and it's kind of like the raw side of Hollywood, and the background is a very ambitious woman who got to a lot of fame and a lot of power, but she kind of had to use her body to get there. And it's set sort of in the 1950s, 60s, where women didn't really have much power back then, especially in the Hollywood sort of scene, and she uses sort of her body and her sexuality to kind of get to where she is. And you know, there's some not very nice bits to that, but she kind of uses things to her advantage. But it's written in a way where it's not like very seedy, like she is very in control of what she's doing all the time. In the book, she sort of says like her body is her currency kind of thing, which sounds a bit raw and a bit grim, but it is the way it's written. It doesn't really feel like that, because she's very much in control of what she's doing all the time. She also used like her marriages, she had 7 husbands, to kind of get to where she is as well. But it's really interesting. I'm really, really enjoying that book. I'm not finished it yet, so please don't give me any spoilers, but let me know if you've read it too. And as always, if you comment below, I'll send you a copy of the Song of Achilles. So it's just the Song of Achilles. If you like the second one, you're gonna have to buy that yourself. And yeah, let me know what you think. I know this is a wee bit different, but if I'm honest, I need a little time buffer. I need to record some other videos, so this was just like a little something so I can post, but it gives me a little bit of breathing space so I can batch record some other videos. So, but let me know if you like some fiction reviews, because I can do more of these too. I do really like fiction books too. And yeah, take care guys, bye! So, yeah. Hello and welcome to another episode. Did I say that? Hello and welcome again to Reading Patroclus. I cannot say his name. Patroclus. There's a young prince called Patroclus. Obviously the Battle of... what else was there? And it's set in the 1950s and 60s in Hollywood. And then